What's going on, guys? Ironcane here, back with another Dragon Ball Legends video. And here, I kind of just want to discuss with you guys, now that I have some experience with ground battles, land battles, Overcharge, and Overdrive. I kind of want to talk to you guys, about how I feel about it, and I was curious how you guys felt about it as well. So I did a post on Twitter saying, question time, do y'all think ground battles and Overdrive were a healthy change for Legends? And do you think it was worth the ramp update and / didn't meet your expectations? So for me, I think you guys know how I initially felt about all of the changes and everything that was coming to the game. I was very apprehensive. I was not really excited for it, and I didn't really want it to come to the game initially. I thought it was going to kill the game, I think is exactly what I said. Admittedly, I think Overdrive is probably the most impactful thing that we got from this update. Land battles, smacking somebody up and smacking somebody down is cool, and I think it's dynamic and it's interesting, and sometimes it is like that little extra bit of damage that you need to pop endurance or even get a kill, right? So it does have its usefulness. I've heard a lot of people are experiencing lag or frame drop issues on the ground, especially or exclusively. In the air, everything's fine and normal, but then once you get hit to the ground, that's when things start to go awry, right? So for me personally, I don't have any issues on that end. I am using a Samsung Galaxy 25 Ultra. I actually just recently upgraded my phone. I think I had an S22 for the longest time. So if I still had my S22, maybe I would be experiencing those issues. But with the new phone, I don't experience anything. But I have heard that some of you guys have been experiencing those issues. But as you guys saw, literally just in the match right there, there's very dynamic, wind screens that you get with just any character really. The Cyberman can just knock anybody into the ground, and you essentially get a pseudo LF with certain characters that wouldn't have these dynamic animations. But here I'm showing this video specifically. This is the Vegeta Vs You that I think went up yesterday. I feel like this video really showcased Overdrive and the different mechanics that were included into the game and how you can use them to your advantage. Before I get into what you guys are saying, I kind of just yap a little bit myself. I really do like these changes. I think the only one that I'm whatever about is the land battles. I think even when you guys were asking before we even saw what it was, I'm just I'm not super excited about land battles, because I imagine it's literally just going to be same old Legends, but just on the ground, and lo and behold, that really is what it is. It is a different perspective. I think it is kind of interesting. I think, finishing people on the ground is kind of cool that they have a unique animation for that. But it really is just dust kicking up and just the background kind of moving with you. It's pretty much all it is. I don't think it's anything insanely groundbreaking in my opinion. But I think it is cool and it is fresh at the very least. But I was never really super sold on it initially. And here, I feel like it's fine. But I know a lot of people kind of were hoping for more, right? And expecting them to make running animations for every single character in this game, I feel that's a big ask. Now, of course, they could have been lazy about it and just gave everybody a walking animation. But there's some characters that are tied to flying in certain moves and certain abilities, right? Or certain green cards. Just a lot of factors that go into it. So unfortunately, I think this was the simplest thing that they could do, where you're just floating above the ground. But they tried, right? So with that being said, let's go ahead and look at some of these responses, shall we? So first we have Zed saying 100%. I think it's about what I expected for system mechanics. Expect more from character mechanics that tie into it as well. Now, I do forget to mention here that they did actually include a dynamic clash between the new LFs we got, right? The Goku and Vegeta. But you can only see it once per match, and I think it's pre-revival or pre-transformation for the both of them. And basically just get a little cutscene when they clash. And that's very cool. Hopefully, as they add these will be more, I guess not as exclusive and not as difficult to get, because the more that they add, the more the chance that you'll have to having you clash with somebody, right? And I think that's a cool change, but it's just one that I feel like a lot of people might not even notice or realize is even in the game, just because they've never seen it, right? Or they might not even have the LFs themselves. So With that being said, let's keep it pushing on some of these responses here. Here we have, I'm a fan of ground battles and Overdrive. I do think having both Overdrive and Rush is a bit too much / unnecessary. I've seen people be of the opinion that they just want to completely remove Rising Rush from the game entirely. I'm a little mixed on that. I think having both is a means to give players a chance to be more aggressive. Because I feel like what you were finding in Proud matches especially, but even in some standard matches with Daima, is that a lot of matches were going to timer, and you were losing matches that like you would have won, objectively speaking, because you like, you know, had more characters, and if the matches had more time, you eventually would have won. Or, you know, basically it all just come down to damage. And if you missed your rush, or if your rush was guessed and your opponent's rush went through, even if you were dominating the entire match, you would still lose, just because of the amounts, massive amounts of damage that you would be able to output through these Rising Rushes, right? So with Overdrive, and you being able to land, you know, with up to like maybe 2 to even 3 Overdrives per matches on top of a rush, maybe even landing 2 rushes, which is crazy, like 5 rush-like moves per match potentially, gives you the opportunity to kind of make the difference, even if your rush was guessed or if you misplayed your rush. You still have the opportunity to make a play and make something happen with the Overdrive mechanic. If you get a type advantage like Overdrive, and the opponent is like less than half health, 9 times out of 10, that is killing. Even if they guess every single part of your Overdrive, that is still killing. Overdrive is insanely strong, and I feel like, honestly, my favorite way to use it is actually at mid-range, but you got to be aware, and you're kind of going to be awake and, you know, aware of your surroundings. Basically, you can bait out your opponent, because I feel like what a lot of people will do is they'll just do a mid-range strike, and you can just easily sidestep that and get your combo off of it. And if you were able to get your Overdrive from that Overcharge, you'll be able to Overdrive and potentially kill or deal lots and lots of damage. Sorry, I know I kind of like went off a tangent here, but I've, you know, a lot to say about the mechanics and stuff. I should have removed Rush from PvP and just keep it to PvE. Oh yeah, that's why. That's why I think there should be both, because of the damage mechanic. And certain characters' kits are just straight up made around Rush. Like, look at like Demon King Piccolo, right? So the Rush is never leaving the game. Overdrive is a better mechanic in terms of what it offers you. Also isn't super impressive like Rising Rush. Yeah, Rising Rush is typically a one-shot kill, typically a guaranteed kill once it goes in, unless you're like using a weaker character and you're at type disadvantage, right? Where Overdrive is typically not one-shotting. I really haven't seen it one-shot unless you're using like a very, very weak defensive character, and you're using a type advantage character against that character, right? Abu says update was a huge success, but I feel like Overdrive is a bit overpowered since it could be spammed. I will say, I personally don't feel like it can be spammed. If it's being spammed, that is kind of a skill issue on the opponent. There are ways to stop an Overcharge, and even stop an Overdrive, right? I actually literally mentioned in the quad with the guys, I'm like, yeah, you can counter Overdrive with blues and even certain greens, and I wish I didn't tell them that, because it actually costed me some games, not thinking that they would be smart enough to do it, no offense. And they did it, and I actually lost some games because of it. So you can counter Overdrive with ults, you can counter them with blues, and this includes melee blues, by the way. Now, with rushes, you can only counter them with, I believe, long-range greens, and you can counter them with long-range blues, right? But like AoE greens don't stop rushes. I don't know if they stop Overdrives. That I'm actually not sure about. You guys have to know in the comments below. But there are ways to combat Overdrive, and it's a lot more easily done than with Rising Rush, right? So there are cool ways to go through that. And also, it doesn't like, I think like with Rising Rush, technically, if you popped an ult or a close range blue like before a certain like frame of the rush, the blue would get priority. With Overdrive, it doesn't matter when it's popped. To my understanding, I don't think it matters when it pops. If it's a melee blue, as long as the blue comes out, it will always have priority. If it's a range blue and you do it right in front of the opponent's face, I think the Overdrive will have priority there. Yes to all your questions, especially the RAM update. Even good phones get a few frame drops during the ground. But this has to be more so with Legends optimization not being great. Only thing I quote-unquote hate about Overdrive is that RR exists together with it. I'd rather RR being gone. I would be shocked. I'd be very surprised if they remove Rising Rush again, because like I mentioned, there are characters, entire kits built around the Rising Rush as recent as Demon King Piccolo, kind of proving and showing that they don't have any intention of getting rid of Rising Rush anytime soon, right? Fons here says, yeah, but what's confusing is why didn't start with that on part 1. I completely agree. I've even discussed with some of my friends like ZVG, if they didn't want to do land battles and ground battles as part of part 1, why not just do Overdrive? I feel like what they could have done, it really just would have been a slam dunk, is that they could have did Overdrive part 1 or land battles part 1, and then just do Overdrive or land battles in part 2. That way we were getting something each part of the anniversary and it didn't feel as bad. But this time it kind of felt bad because we got, you know, essentially characters we already had before previously, with just, you know, them being able to transform, right? Now, some people were happy with the Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. Some people were happy with the MUI. But I feel like a large portion of the long-term player base was a little disappointed by the headlining LFs. And if anything, they were more impressed by the side banner characters like Kale and Caulifla and Kaba, right? They were just a little bit more interesting and more compelling. Diamond Requiem says, update was nice, needs some balancing tweaks, but overall good. And the RAM update met expectations. Kale and Caulifla's model, UI's transformation, Super Saiyan Blue Evolution's transformation, Kaioken Goku and Vegeta's overall look, knocked it out of the park. Yeah, I will say without a shadow of a doubt that all the animations are very good and very top tier. I think the only ones that are up for debate, unfortunately, back to back is Vegeta. I think people were a little mixed on Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, Vegeta's LF, and Saiyan Saga Vegeta's LF. I feel like probably the best 8 Vegeta LF is probably the original, funnily enough, because he actually turns into the Great Ape. I'll be honest, I think the only thing I was personally disappointed about in this update, I was really expecting it just because of the scale of the land battles and just how open and wide it is. I was expecting Vegeta to go Great Ape. I was expecting it, and unfortunately he didn't. It's just like a super explosive wave. That's his LF. I was kind of hoping it would be the Vegeta move that he used to kill Nappa as the LF. I thought that would have been cooler, personally, but they didn't do that either. It's just kind of a super explosive wave. I feel like it leaves a little bit to be desired, but overall, I feel like the models look great, the animations look great. I think Vegeta's LF just leaves a little bit to desire, but Kaioken Goku looks perfect. I think he's really, really good, and it's his first LF, so it's, deserving, right? Angus here says, yes, I think they're both really good. I don't think round battles is revolutionary. I agree there. But it's really fun to spice up the gameplay. But I think Overdrive is good because it gives you a lot of options. I agree. I mean, one technique that I like to use is a quick attack into a blast because it just forces the opponent to vanish, right? But with Overdrive in play, mind you, it's a little less risky, I guess, technically. But there is that extra ounce of counterplay. Because a way that could be countered is, say, if you quick attack into a blast, the worry is that you could get Rising Rushed into that because the rush would go through the blast. But now you can Overdrive through that as well. But the difference here is that you can actually see when your opponent has Overdrive, meaning that, you could be a little bit more wary when you actually pop stuff like that, right? RJ says, yes, definitely very fun. And the recent Quad Crown Battle Tournament had an amazing Ironcane crash out, which was only possible due to the changes. Yes. Oh, also, one thing I actually want to mention about Overdrive that we actually learned in Nano's part, which is with his stupid-ass rules that were stupid and very dumb. But in the Overdrive mechanic, you can actually choose where you smack your opponent. That last choice, because you get 3 choices, right? You can do health, damage. But if you notice, there is actual arrows during the Overdrive selection, meaning that at that last Overdrive selection, you actually get to determine where your opponent lands. If you choose the up arrow, you're knocking them into the air. If you choose the down arrow, you're actually knocking them down to the ground. And I don't know if they do the same amount of damage. You guys would have to let me know in the comments below. But I believe typically smacking your opponent to the ground does deal more damage because it's like the actual bounce, unless that's just the transition like the double tackle or the double quick attack. But, you know, I could be wrong on that. Comments, let me know for sure. Okay, Overdrive, way overpowered. Ground battles are awesome, and I hope they continue making these type of changes. However, it seems a bit laggy sometimes. Saw Gresh's video playing, and he experienced some type of lag when sliding due to particles coming from the dust. That is kind of funny that the dust is what's causing the issues, right? Overdrive can be a little overpowered since it's literally a miniature Rising Rush. As with the ground battles, I don't think it's fully optimized just yet. The game gets slow, and sometimes there's frame drops even when not playing on max graphics quality, but still cool. I agree. I personally like them both. I kind of explained that a little bit before. I think there is some fixes they need to do for land battles. And hey, it's in the game. They could always add to it. They could always try to make it better, make it more dynamic, make it a little bit more different. Originally, I was of the assumption that... What is this? Oh, I think I was calling this guy Cornball. That's what that edit was. But originally, I was under the assumption that the Overdrive mechanic and the Overcharge mechanic was going to be exclusive to ground battles. So that kind of made me a little disappointed that like land battles is essentially just air battles. And the only, you know, really isn't any change besides like defeating your opponent and they like, you know, flop like a fucking fish on the ground after you take somebody out, right? I feel like we didn't talk about Overcharge that much. Maybe I briefly touched upon it, but Overcharge I feel like is a cool mechanic. I don't think it's as overpowered as I originally thought it was going to be. I think a lot of people believe Overdrive is stronger than Overcharge, if anything. And certain characters can actually overcharge mid-combo, but I think it's only a certain group of characters that just like maintain their ki and whatnot. But Overcharge is immune to tap attacks, quick attacks, and tackles. So I feel like it's, again, really good at mid-range just because you can bait those certain things out and you can get your Overcharge or Overdrive as fast as possible doing that, right? Rody here says, I think they're very healthy changes to the game. In fact, I go as far to say is that they fix almost all the problems that play PvP with this update. The only thing I change is giving more reasons to be in the air or the ground. And I agree. I think we noticed, I believe Goku and Vegeta, they have cards that are exclusive to the ground and to the air. But beyond that, I don't really think there's anything significant between the air and the ground in terms of like combat. But hopefully they do. Hopefully they do. Maybe they'll, you know, have some characters that are like stronger in the air or weaker in the ground or vice versa. Or some moves that are specifically stronger on the air or in the air and on the ground, right? I feel like that could be interesting. I think the biggest problem with this update is the lag it produces, Lamau. It's completely soured my opinion on ground battles because of it. I think both changes are fine though. However, they definitely could have done more with ground battles. Yeah, I've heard people completely joke that like once they are sent to the ground, they basically lost the game or they're going to lose the game because they can't play the game because of the lag and the frame drops that they are receiving. Ground battles were nice, but Overdrive is not necessary and should not be in the game. Listen, you guys know me. I was very critical of Overdrive. I like it. I think Overdrive is cool. I think maybe it could be tweaked. I think the biggest thing I noticed is that low-key, going for health, in my opinion, really seems pointless. Besides, like, I guess not getting gas, because I feel like the amount of health that you, like, you know, accrue through getting, like, 3 non-guest health buffs is, like, very minimal and, like, not noticeable at all. Whereas if you go like pure damage, I feel like that is very noticeable. Maybe they wanted to keep that balanced, but like I don't know what I go for here. I don't know if I go for, do I just go full damage? Yeah, I go for full damage. But yeah, just look at this. We go for full damage. Oh, they don't mention me in the video. Oh yeah, I guess I don't have my notifications off. Let me see this damage. Hold on. This is Shoutout, a very tanky character. Yeah, he ate like nothing. Literally, as I said that, I guess we did no damage. But again, it depends. It's very character dependent how strong your Overdrive is going to be. But it's the same for Rising Rush too, right? Overdrive, yes, but they should update Rising Rush to be much more of a comeback mechanic now. Like, make it have it locked in so you have 2 defeated allies. I don't hate that. I actually don't hate that. But unfortunately, I don't think they'll ever do it because, again, DKP exists. And he just came out recently, right? Ground battle is okay. Maybe it's just me. Though, but the optimization of it is awful with frame rates, so I always push the battle back up. Yes, it's worth it. Part 3 is also something character-wise we've never seen before. Is bro living in the future? So the first question, I think it's healthy until people find new tech that destroys PvP. Now, I mean, from my understanding, a lot of the veterans just straight up ignore Overcharge, and they'll use Overdrive when they have it, but they just straight up ignore Overcharge. Overcharge they ignore, but Overdrive they'll use if they have it, right? It's fun. Like, yeah, I wish they actually fall on the ground, but it's understandable why they didn't in the future. The ramp upgrade specifically, not really, could have been more. Yeah, I think that's a big topic as well. I want you guys in the comments to let me know, do you think Overdrive, do you think land battles, the stage transitions, do you think this was worthy of the ramp update and cutting off a percentage of the player base? I think I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I think that the dynamic ground battle finishers with Overdrive, I feel like does make it worth it. I think those are very cool. If that's the reason why, I could kind of get it. Summon update or summons, you know, they didn't really do anything with summons. I feel like it's like 10 people on the whole fucking planet that actually got the Cell Max animation. Here, SSS JB Panini says no, no, and no. Rico says, I'm not a fan of Overdrive. Firstly, the healing sucks ass. Again, yeah, I agree. I feel like the healing is very minimal. It makes me question as to why it is so minimal, but maybe they just want to make it balanced. It doesn't even make up for Strike Art's hit of health. And the damage it does feels so random here. It does 0 damage to the enemy or it one-shots. Again, that's very character dependent, and it's very dependent on the advantage and disadvantage that you're in with your characters, right? Daima Wonderland says, I love the Overdrive gauge. I just wish units weren't tied to the rush so we could get rid of it. Ground battles are whatever. The animations for tackles and quick attacks is good, though. I agree. I think the animations for those are really cool. The update is really good. It overdried my phone so much I can cook an egg on it. I actually did hear some people saying that they're... Oops. Okay, hold on. Give me 1 sec. My phone. My mom texted me. Mama Kane texted me. All right. Where were we? Oh yeah, front. Yeah, no, I saw a lot of people saying that like their phones would get really, really hot. I guess that is the reason why. I guess that's proof in the pudding that, you know, they needed the RAM update, or they're trying to cut off some older devices, because probably some phones would like explode in your hand if they didn't do that. For me, it really adds nothing. Gameplay still feels the same, and there really isn't a reason to go to the ground or air when the match starts. Overdrive is something, I guess. Don't understand what the health restore even does, but at least it's something new. Again, yeah, I get that. I feel like it definitely takes some getting used to. But I think it's good. I think Overdrive is good, and I feel like it definitely is a nice way to kind of mix up the opponent. Keep in mind, though, you don't just want to spam the Overcharge, like, tackle or quick attack, because if someone does PV that, they basically, or no, what I mean to say is, if someone vanishes that, it just counts as a PV. If they vanish it late, early, whatever, it just counts as a PV. So you're completely open up to an attack. Same thing with Overdrive. It's not like Rush. Say if you miss a Rush, you're not able to vanish out of it. It counts as a PV if you Overdrive and miss. If you Overdrive and miss, meaning that your opponent can do whatever they want to you after they miss it. It takes like an extra frame for you to actually be able to move your character, right? Stanpunk says Overdrive is terrible. Because of ground battles, instead of following up a quick attack with a blaster strike, it forces me to do a stage change sometimes. I've personally never experienced that. That might be just because maybe you're tapping a little bit above your cards, but you shouldn't be doing the animation if you click a card afterwards, unless you're just like mashing the screen, right? Yes, been having a lot of fun with the new mechanics, especially the Overcharge kick. Yeah, I mean, if you see somebody just spam vanishes, like Nanogenics, you could do the charge tackle to catch them and sort of combo off of it, right? Overdrive is trash. Rest is good. Beeb says, I think at this point they just need to get rid of Rush, to be honest. Again, I find that very unlikely, but a lot of you guys want it, so maybe, you know, next survey, a lot of people could say it, and maybe they'll rework it in some way. I don't think it's healthy having both in the game, and Overdrive is a 10 times better design mechanic. It doesn't feel like shit. Overall, ground battles and PvP update has far exceeded my expectation. Honestly, I'm really happy. Yeah, no, I will say straight up, I was wrong. Overdrive, Overcharge definitely exceeded my expectations. I think initially I was lukewarm on it because I was trying to use the mechanics. I was kind of trying to force it, and people were just being very aggressive and just not allowing me to do it. But if you kind of get the feel of when you should be using it, when you shouldn't be using it, it can be very useful. It can be very useful and kind of like make for some cool aggressive plays. Not worth the update, but a good change. I love the Overdrive as I can load it with great ease, and when I face the passives that stand still with Goku UI, making them unable to camp in such boring battles. Yes and kind of yeah, no, and no. Healthy to keep changes to the game, but Overdrive is pathetic. Some characters like how Goku can kill you even if it's complete bullshit, especially when you don't have the character 65. Okay. And you face every time, it gets really irritating. I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm sorry you got shafted. I'm sorry about that. Seems like bro's a little tight by his summons. The Overdrive stuff is kind of stupid IMO. Ground battles are fine, but right now feel kind of pointless. Hold on, let me change the view. This is too slow. That needs to use card effects. From a super casual perspective, not really. Kind of just the same thing to me, but I can see how someone who's been playing for a minute might be more accepting of it. I think from both, from my opinion, from a just gameplay perspective and a comp perspective, I think it's a good, healthy change, in my opinion. Overdrive might need to be tuned a little bit because it might be a little bit too strong, but beyond that, I think it is a solid change. Yes, I'd expect my phone to be able to cook a steak when we reach the ground. That's funny, dude. I'm sorry about that. I think it would be a cool thing for PvE, but definitely not PvP. Yes, 100%, but for certain reasons, I think it's a refreshing new way to experience the game, which is very nice. I think it's a bit underwhelming, though. I think the Overdrive is a good thing. Should have replaced Rising Rush, but I'm hoping for mechanics for ground battle. Okay. Like many others, I love the change, but Overdrive is definitely a bit overtuned. You can see them nerfing it eventually, maybe not soon. But personally, I'd love to see windscreens and transitions similar to below, but it should be happening to the upcoming Ultra. So hopefully, Aaron, hopefully. Mini says, I think it's a very healthy change and gives the game a breath of fresh air. Overdrive seems a bit overtuned, but honestly, more people play. I think there will be new counters found, so it won't be as bad. This update alone makes me enjoy PvP again, TBH. C-Levy here says, healthy for the gameplay variety, but not healthy for my frames when the rocks lift while fighting on the ground. Bro's phone is on fire. Bro says, epic. I think they were. It's going to help preventing any timer metas from happening again. I agree, or at least help, make it more fair instead of just like losing to a missed rush. Though most people have experienced some sort of lag with it, especially on the ground, but overall I think we'll see a fullness of what it brings to the game in due time. And yeah, I think that's it. I think we got through everybody. But yeah, guys, I kind of just want to talk with y'all and get a feel of where everybody's head was at with the update. If you feel it was worth the RAM update, if you feel it was worth like cutting off a percentage of the player base. If you're happy with the changes, if you're dissatisfied with the changes, let me know in the comments below. Overall, I think this is a net positive. I think it would have felt better paced as an anniversary if they gave us Overdrive or Land Battles in part 1, at least gave us something. Maybe Overdrive, because I feel like Land Battles is very much so something they wanted to do with the Saiyan Saga theme. But, they did what they did. But, let me know how you guys feel about that. If you feel it was good what they did, if you feel like they could have handled it better, let me know in the comments below. But that being said, y'all, that's going to be the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Comment down below your thoughts in the comments below. And like the video if you enjoyed. I already said that. And subscribe to the Ironcane channel for more videos like these. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care, stay safe, have fun. Peace out, dude. Peace out.